Hello and welcome to another episode of I Will Hold Space for Your Darkness, a first responder mental health podcast. I'm your host, Erin Jane. And today I'm jumping on. So this is sort of the first solo episode I've done since I got back from my trip to Australia. And I was going to release a normal episode this week. And I kind of just wanted to jump on and talk about some stuff because it's been a really heavy start to the year of 2024, especially if you are a first responder, and in particular if you are a police officer or in law enforcement. I think anyone who's sort of been paying attention to news, social media, online, anything like that, you're going to be seeing a lot of fucking heartbreak in the law enforcement community right now. There have been a lot of losses, a lot of line of duty deaths of police officers. And it's more so than like anything else. I think it's been incredibly significant since like the start of this year. And I don't know, for anyone listening, watching, any of the things, you'll all know that I am a former police officer, and that's what I did in Australia before I moved over here, and I now find myself in the position of being the spouse of a first responder, naming a firefighter. So it's an interesting line to sort of find myself in the middle of, having been a first responder and now being, one at home supporting one. I guess I'm sort of always been a little reluctant to talk about my policing experience in relation to that goes on in law enforcement in this country. I was a police officer in this country. Got asked many times whether I wanted to join, planning to join, all of the above, and it just sort of, wasn't really something that was going to work for us or our family or whatever else. But so I guess I've always just been a little bit reluctant to, because I don't want to compare it and I don't want to conflate my experience in law enforcement with that of law enforcement officers here, in a broad scheme of things, in terms of things that we see and the things that we do and the trauma and the mental health aspects. Like, that's, I think, the same sort of anywhere you go. But, in terms of like the gun violence, and in particular against police officers and the ambush style attacks that have been happening, my country's just not like that. Obviously have very different gun laws, and even though when I was a detective in my last position that I worked in, I worked at a place called the Crime Squad. So obviously crime did happen and people did have access to firearms, but it wasn't written in our constitution in the way that it is here. And obviously I probably have differing opinions to some people about the access to firearms in this country, but that's because I didn't grow up here, and that's not to say that my opinion is right or wrong compared to anyone else's. It's just I think I perhaps have the luxury of viewing things through a different lens at times. But regardless of what my opinion or anyone's opinion might be, it's not the reality. So the reality is that the right to bear arms is in the American Constitution, and a lot of people have access to firearms, and a lot of people have possession of firearms in this country. And so that in itself makes the policing experience here, you know, very different compared to, you know, the experience that I had back home in Oz. You know, I think it can tend to lend someone in law enforcement just to sort of exist in like a higher state of hypervigilance, given the fact that every person you encounter, every vehicle you pull over, literally every interaction for the entire length of your shift, and also, you know, out and about in your personal life too, someone could be armed, someone could have a firearm, and that's, you know, I think that's something heavy to deal with when, you know, when you're in law enforcement, and it increases obviously the risks of the interactions that you're going to have with the people. It escalates situations when someone is armed, you know, to that propensity. And it just, you know, it made me think about all of the police officers in the country here at the moment with so many losses. Like, I'm recording this on, and I'll date it because I'm hoping to get it out later tonight or early tomorrow morning. I'm recording this on Thursday, May 2nd. So we're 2 days into the 5th month of the year, and there's been a lot of losses in law enforcement since the beginning of the year, and not only 2 line of duty deaths, there have also been a significant amount of losses to suicide in the law enforcement community as well. So taking, you know, those 2 totals, it's a lot of people who are out there trying to serve their community, you know, be of service to their country in the way that they're choosing to be a police officer or any form of law enforcement. And it's a lot. It's a lot to be knowing that, you know, so many of your colleagues are succumbing to the end in you know, in one horrible way or another. And, you know, especially sort of now, I do live on like the other side of that coin now, where find myself in the role of a spouse of a first responder. And I think about, you know, the partners and spouses and wives, husbands, loved ones, like whoever who, you know, find themselves in the position now of watching their loved one walk out the door to go and perform their law enforcement role. And, you know, I can imagine it's always come with an element of risk. You know, anyone in like that sort of first responder role like knows that, you know, can come with the territory. Same as me watching my husband go to work, and, you know, having that deep down little prayer that you say to yourself, and, you know, the depths of your heart every time, saying, I hope you come home to me. I hope you come home safe. You know, I hope nothing happens. And I think that's that feeling and that fear and that anxiety is just so escalated for spouses of law enforcement at the moment. And it makes, you know, it makes life heavy. It makes life heavy for, the partners, the spouses, children of first responders and police officers. It's a lot. And so I sort of just wanted to jump on and talk about that. And so last night I looked up, came with the stats. So I looked up the numbers. So I went to the National Fraternal Order of Police, their website, and I can post that link in the show notes for anyone who, not the fact that you wouldn't trust the information that I'm sharing, but just if you want to get informed yourselves. So according to the Fraternal Order of Police, in 2023, 46 police officers were killed in the line of duty, and 378 were shot and injured, but thankfully survived. And of that total number, 115 were ambush style attacks. So that's pretty fucking horrendous when you think about it. And so I kind of looked up last year's total just to inform myself and to see sort of where the difference is. And so far this year, and like I said, we're on the second day of May 2024. So I looked this up last night. So if there has been a loss overnight that I'm not aware of, I sincerely apologize, and it's not my intent to leave anyone out. But so far, 20 officers have been killed. And we're in May. And 136 have been shot. And of that 136, or that might be including the 20 who unfortunately didn't make it, 26 of those were ambush style attacks. And that, that really lends itself to making you think that, how are law enforcement officers going to work every day at the moment and feeling any sense of safety, when it's just so significant at the moment. I just, I know I'm meant to be talking because it's a podcast, but it hurts my heart. It really does. I just, we all, and regardless of, where we've been a police officer, we all go to work and we all know that there is danger involved, but it's almost growing to like an expectation here. It's growing to an expectation that, you're going to hear about, you're going to wake up to the news that another law enforcement officer was killed in the line of duty. And it's awful and it's tragic, and I'm not sitting here saying that I have all the answers or know the solution or anything like that. Obviously significant access to firearms doesn't lend itself kindly to lowering this kind of incident, but that horse has already bolted from the barn a long time ago. So I don't know what the answer is. I just wanted to jump on and just acknowledge it. When I was in Oz, we talked about the losses of and some losses to suicide of some first responders, and there were a few in Australia while I was there, and I just jumped on because I just want to acknowledge it, and that's kind of in a similar vein here, and on top of the losses in the line of duty, like I was saying earlier, I think it was from, gonna have to double check who I got the stats from. Either the Blue Help organization, that's so far it's either 34 or 36. I apologize for not knowing the exact number. But either 34 or 36 law enforcement losses to suicide. And it's May. So that in itself fucking sucks too. Because not only are, people going to work and perhaps feeling targeted in a way that they shouldn't and wouldn't normally, because you go to work to try to, when you're a cop, try to help people, serve the community, stop the bad guys, do all of like the right things, and so now we've got people going to work feeling attacked more than ever, and what does that do to someone's mental health? And the reasons why people make that final decision to end their life, by their own hand, are very complicated. And again, I'm not trying to, conflate it, but it can't be a coincidence. It really can't. So again, I just wanted to come on and acknowledge those losses, acknowledge the people left behind, the people who are grieving them, the partners and spouses and children who watch their loved one go to work, and who never came home, for whatever reason. So, and I was also looking on the Fraternal Order of Police's. They have a report, like an ongoing running report, of the losses of year to date, and of, they obviously, like, for a loss to suicide, more often than not the person isn't named for protect their privacy and that of their family, which is completely fair enough. But obviously when a police officer is killed in the line of duty, more often than not their name is released to the public. I posted something about the ones that were lost in North Carolina a couple of days ago, and there were four law enforcement officers who were lost in that incident, and I believe 4 others were also shot. But again, in the show notes, I can put it down about or the link to so you can go and find out all of this information. But if you will grant me, a couple of minutes, I'd like to read the names of the officers who they're on the Fraternal Order of Police's site, who have been lost in the line of duty via like a shooting incident, because I think it's appropriate to acknowledge them, and it's appropriate to acknowledge the sacrifice that they made. So if you'll bear with me, I'm just going to read them off now. And I say from the get-go that I apologise if I butcher anyone's name, either by my poor pronunciation or my heavy Australian accent. But I think it's important to acknowledge these people, and these are just the ones we know about. I would just as happily acknowledge the people who have succumbed to their mental health battle too. So I'm going to go reverse order. So from the most recent ones. So Deputy US Marshal Thomas T.W. Weeks, Investigator William Alden Elliott, Investigator Samuel Polush, Police Officer Joshua Eyre, Police Officer Kyle Hicks, Police Officer Lewis Huesca, Deputy Sheriff Tobin Bolter, Police Officer Michael Jensen, Lieutenant Michael Husso, Police Officer Joseph McKinney, Agent Eliza Ramos Vellet, Patrolman Justin Hare, Police Officer Cody Allen, Police Officer Matthew Rouge, Police Officer Paul Elmstrand, Sergeant Nevada Krinky, Deputy Sheriff Greg, and Deputy Sheriff Justin Smith. So thank you for giving me the time to read those names out, because I think it's important that that they are remembered and they are acknowledged and they are respected in the way that they deserve. So shifting gears, or I guess probably just kind of continuing on from that, I mentioned, the fact that there's been over 30 losses via suicide for law enforcement officers since the start of the year. And if you don't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so what does that mean? What does that mean to, people in the first responder community? Our mental health is still, still sometimes a bit of a taboo subject that people struggle talking about. There's a lot of stigma attached to it in the first responder community. Obviously, lots of people are working tirelessly to change that. But there seems to be a day for everything, a month for everything. There's always fucking something, right? But I think this is an important one. There are a couple sort of throughout the year that stand out for me. January is Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. So that's always a big one for me, considering who I'm married to. And, this one equally important, because when you perform the roles that we do, whether you are a police officer, a firefighter, an AMBO, paramedic, EMT, EMS, nurse, doctor, dispatcher, correctional officer. Who am I missing? If I'm missing someone, I apologize. You guys see a lot of shit. You see when you hear and you answer the call to people in their darkest moments and in their darkest hours. And it's a human response to be affected, to feel things, and to be shaken by it sometimes. And, if you're not, and you're all good and you've got your healthy coping mechanisms and, shit just rolls off a duck's back for you, that's awesome. And that is great. And that is something to be celebrated. But not everyone is as fortunate as that. And so even if it doesn't affect you, it most likely affects someone that you know. So, we can, if celebrate's the right word, but we can acknowledge Mental Health Awareness Month and encourage people to talk about their mental health, and if you're a private person, no one's saying you've got to put your shit out there. It's a personal choice, but you can also be a good friend, be a good colleague. And if you are noticing that someone you work with or that you see sort of day in, day out might be struggling, ask them if they're doing okay, and listen, if they choose to open up to you. What does that cost you? Nothing. You don't necessarily have to share your own shit. You don't have to talk about, anything that you don't want to share. But if someone chooses to share with you and someone chooses to open up to you, it's a privilege, so treat it like that. I guess that's all I'm asking. And for the people who think that, the amount of people banging on about mental health in the first responder realm, and hey, I'm one of them. I bang on about it because I think it's important. If you think it's bullshit, it's probably time to pull your head out of your own ass, because it's not. Because look at everything that's going on. Look at the losses to suicide. Look at the people suffering burnout, depression, PTSD, PTSI, whatever you want to call it, anxiety. There is a lot that is affecting and inflicting your colleagues. So it's not bullshit. People need help. And that's okay. It's okay to need help. You know, sometimes it can be as simple as just talking it out, and you alleviate that burden from yourself for something that was bothering you. But, you know, whatever it is that someone needs help with, don't be that person that stands in the way. Don't be that person that invalidates what they're going through or what they're feeling or how they're coping or how they're dealing with it. Because just because something didn't bother you doesn't mean it didn't bother them. And we all, you know, we all come into these jobs with different backgrounds, different experiences, different childhoods. You know, some of us join the job when we're, you know, babies in our early 20s. Some people are a little more mature when they join and they've had a little bit more life experience. You know, some people have led privileged lives and haven't really had much shit happen to them. Other people have had a lot of shit happen to them. So there are vast differences in how attending certain jobs or certain incidents is going to affect someone, depending on their background, depending on their experiences. You know, it even comes down to biological differences, genetic predispositions. So many things play a role in how someone will be affected. And I remember last year I was speaking to a veteran, and you know, I know him in a personal capacity, and in the group that we were hanging out with was another veteran who was, you know, in the military and served for, I think, probably over 20 years maybe. And this other person I was talking to, I think, did like a couple of tours overseas during the War on Terror, but wasn't in for services as long as, you know, the other person was. And he admitted to me that he sometimes felt ashamed and embarrassed because he has had some significant mental health challenges since his service. And seemingly the other person hasn't. If he has, you know, perhaps isn't very vocal about it, or he's just, again, one of those individuals who has been fortunate, who's just been able to cope, or has had adequate, you know, coping mechanisms and skills and strategies employed. But you know, yeah, this person who really endured some very challenging things and has had to work really hard since finishing his deployments to, you know, find a balance again, find some health for himself psychologically, has sought treatment, has sought help, you know, but I think that's in part where the danger lies when we compare our you know, psychological injuries, or whatever you want to call them, to others. You know, oh, you're fucking bothered by that? What a pussy. Who hasn't fucking heard that before? And it's not the right attitude to be having anymore. It's just not. We all fucking know better. And yeah, there's some salty old ones who, you know, might think it's bullshit. All right, cool. Good for them. They can go off and they can retire, and they can, you know, refuse to be part of the future of what it is to be a first responder. And it's not the suck it up attitude and culture of what it used to be. And you know, I joined in that culture. You know, my whole career was under that kind of culture. You know, tickets to the greatest show on earth. And yeah, do you see some cool shit? 100%. But you also see some really fucked up shit. And it's we need to talk about it. We need to share our experiences, obviously, if you're comfortable. But, you know, it's why I put this podcast out. It's why I do my coaching. It's why I'm, you know, going blind, studying, you know, and taking my psychology classes so I can help in a different capacity down the track, like, because the need is there. So, I wanted to, just, you know, say it's a great month. It's a great month to, I don't know, try something for your mental health, maybe that you've never tried before. You know, you can try a different hobby. You can try a different, what do you call it? Strategy, skill, hobby, whatever. Something that, you know, maybe you have been scared to try or hesitant to try, or, you know, you might think is bullshit. Like, you know, some people don't see yoga as being something great to do, or journaling, or having like a gratitude diary, or meditation, or, you know, learning deep breathing skills, like all of the things that a lot of people are proponents for that help them with their mental health in this field. You know, pick one, give it a try. What have you got to lose? You know, there's lots of resources out there of things to try, and it doesn't have to be any of that sort of, you know, if you think it's a little wishy-washy, like meditation or a gratitude journal or anything like that. All right, cool. So what is going to give you some kind of a release? You know, what's gonna let you release like the pressure, you know, out of that valve when you're, you know, approaching burnout, or you are just freaking high strung and stressed. You know, what's going to help? Is it, you know, going to play golf, go jump in the ocean, go do a boxing class, go for a run? You know, basically anything can be therapy for you. Anything at all. Doesn't, you know, have to be something of a particular kind or a particular nature if that's not your jam. And that's cool. You know, everyone's different. Everyone's got their own ways of going about things. But I don't know. I guess I encourage anyone out there who is maybe finding themselves, you know, without that thing to turn to. And I mean, look, you know, we're all going to be fucking honest here. We're first responders. What are the normal, what's like the normal shit that we turn to? Booze, you know, go knock back a few beers, because that always fucking helps. And look, I've been there. I do it too if I'm stressed. I know a glass of wine or a cider or whatever, like freaking 10 margaritas. They always make me feel better too. But, it's not a healthy or adaptive long-term strategy. And we all know that. We've all seen enough people, go down a bad path when something that, might help take the edge off every now and then gets a little bit out of control. Whether it's drinking, whether it's drugs, whether it's gambling, all of the other bad shit that, we find ourselves doing. So, they're called maladaptive coping mechanisms, and we want adaptive ones. So ones that are helpful, ones that are gonna make an improvement. So, whatever floats your boat. I personally, probably in the last few years, and I'm like happy to share them because it's nothing fucking special. I work out a lot. I work out sort of like 6 days a week. And that for me is part of my, mental health, or, part of me taking care of my mental health, because when I get up early and I work out, for me, it sets the intention for the day. Doing something for myself, working up a sweat, getting all those, wonderful endorphins pumping through your body. And obviously, like, I started doing it, and I've, always sort of worked out on and off throughout the years. And obviously, having a couple of kids along the way, you can take a little bit of a break here and there. But, I've been sort of back into it pretty hard for like the last sort of 3 or 4 years almost. And along that way, something that I was doing for, physicality reasons, ended up being more for my mental health and my physical health, and that wasn't planned. But I started realizing and recognizing the benefits of what I did get out of it. So, that's my thing. I, lift weights. I box. I do like a couple of boxing classes a week. And, do some running. So yeah, that's one of, my strategies, because it helps me set the intention for the day. It means I've done something for myself, and something positive for myself, before I have to go upstairs and get the kids' school lunches ready and, maybe cook my husband brekkie, or, do all of the other things that the day is going to bring. But when I've ticked that really important thing off for myself, like before 7 a.m., it's a fucking win. So that's kind of something I do, like almost in like as like a preventative measure now. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I know that keeps you balanced, keeps you regulated, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Okay. So that's something that I do. One of the things I do, like in the moment, of finding myself super fucking stressed or burnt out or aggravated, frustrated, think of all of the words, was and I think I've probably talked about it on here before or posted about it on Instagram. I discovered box breathing, maybe 12, 18 months ago now. And it's got a couple of different names, some places call it tactical breathing, because they taught it to, the Navy SEALs to help regulate their heart rate and their breathing before they go out. I know it's been sort of taught to other first responders and stuff before, but it's something that I came across and was like, give that a try. And literally I'm advocating for you to sort of to try something this month. I kind of did the same thing. I was like, all right, I'll pop that in the toolbox and see if I use it, see if I like it, see if it's a crock of shit, whatever, just the knowledge of having it. And so next time I felt the need for anything to help calm me down, and to ground myself and to center myself, I tried it. And fuck me, it worked. It was I guess I'll explain it for anyone who doesn't know what box breathing is. It's basically just you and there's different counts for different kinds, whatever. I don't know. I do it the way that I learnt, and someone does it differently. Cool, so be it. You breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, you breathe out for 4, and you hold it for 4. And you just repeat that on cycle, and it's not as much. I mean, the breathing is definitely, obviously, calming you down and grounding you and all that kind of thing. But I think for me as well, and it might sound stupid, so bear with me if it does, but the simple notion of counting to 4 in my head, it makes it so I can't be thinking about anything else at the same time because I'm counting. So anything that I was stressed about, anything that I was worried about, anything that was frustrating me, anything like that, it kind of gets pushed to the side because I'm counting, 4 in, 4 the holding, 4 out, 4 the holding. And it just helps me, clear my mind, calm down, find my equilibrium. And you just, do that for as long as you want, really. I normally do it for a few rounds. And I mean, it takes, less than 5 minutes. And I just sort of, find my center. And so they're the things that I do primarily, and they keep me balanced. And, I do some of the other normal things. I, go and catch up with friends, talk to people from home, people who, I guess ground me in the same way that doing a breathing exercise does. They just talking to them, hearing their voice, they help center me, so whatever helps you, that's really the key. That's what's important. It's not necessarily what it is. It's just to make sure that you do it, to make sure that you remember, to make sure that you have a couple of those things in reserve and in your toolkit, or whatever analogy you want to use, because it's important that we have access to those things. Because I think as well, shit doesn't always have to affect you in the time. You can see something awful and be like, it doesn't really bother me, I'm okay, whatever. And it can start to hit you down the track. It could be weeks, it could be months, sometimes it's years, and you don't realize that something has been affecting you, even to the point and there's lots of people sort of talking about it at the moment, about people retire. They do their, freaking 30 plus years, and then they walk away, and all of the unresolved shit that they didn't deal with throughout the course of their career because they weren't given the opportunity to, or they were taught just to fucking suck it up or whatever else. And it hits them. It hits them like a ton of fucking bricks. So just having the tools. I'm a massive advocate for just dealing with stuff along the way. Talking to someone about it, unburdening yourself, offloading about it, whatever. Whatever helps you get through. But just, let this month maybe give you a little bit of a nudge to go, what do I have that helps me through the difficult times? Some people, it is having a supportive spouse, supportive friend, supportive whatever that you can go and talk to, and you're good. You're good after you chat to them. Great. But what if you're not? There are a lot of services out there available for the first responder community. Even if you don't feel like you need anything right now, I think it's good to educate yourself on what is available out there. Because whether you need it down the track, hopefully you don't, but whether you need it down the track or one of your mates at work, might need it. If you've got that knowledge, you can share it as well. So figuring out helpful, coping mechanisms and skills and strategies also isn't just about you. It's about, your friends and your colleagues and the people that you spend day in, day out with, that you want to know that they've got your back and that their mind is right and that they're healthy physically, emotionally, psychologically. So that's my little, recommendation for the month of May being Mental Health Awareness Month. So if I've shared mine, if anyone wants to share theirs with me, I'm always happy to hear from you. You can DM me on Instagram or shoot me off an email, jump on my website, any of the things. But yeah, if there's anything you want to share, go right ahead. I do want to share something a little funny. And this is totally off topic, but it happened sort of just before I jumped on, and it made me smile. So I want to share it with you guys. I was chatting with someone on the Overwatch Collective platform. So a fellow, the current or former first responder. And he mentioned that he had listened to some of my podcast episodes, which was lovely, absolutely lovely. And I was kind of chuffed to hear that. It was very, very sweet when anyone ever says that they've listened. I'm always really, really touched because, put stuff out into the stratosphere and you have no fucking idea who's listening. So it's always nice to get some feedback. And the thing he said to me, which was just gave me such a delightful giggle. He was like, has anyone ever told you that you have a great ASMR voice? He's like, every time your podcast starts, he's like, and I hear the introduction, he goes, I guess I just want to close my eyes and just chill out. So I thought that was really sweet. And hey, maybe I have a new career ahead of me. Maybe someone would appreciate, these dulcet Aussie tones in an ASMR style something. Who knows? But yeah, I just thought that was really cute and really funny, and it was such a lovely thing to hear. So I just wanted to share it because it gave me a giggle. But before I finish off, I also wanted to mention something that I'm also doing in the month of May. And I did make a reel about it earlier today. So and I'm wearing the same clothes, so you can tell I did. So if you want to go to Instagram and check it out, what I'm affiliated with is called the Overwatch Collective. See first. So the Overwatch Collective is a organization that provides therapy and counseling sessions for first responders, military veterans, their families, loved ones, all that kind of thing. They're a 501c3, so they fund all these services for people through donations alone. And they have an app, they have a podcast, a couple of different things. But anyway, so they are doing a challenge. So it's called the TOC, so the Overwatch Collective, TOC 50 miles to Memorial Day. And so it's, basically just, something fun to get involved in that's, like fitness related, health related, something good to do, in the mental health awareness month. So I've posted it and I'll continue to post it a couple of times on Instagram. They have like a calendar. You can screenshot it. If you happen to miss it, you can probably grab it from the Overwatch Collective's page. If not, DM me and I'll send it to you. And so I think they calculated that it's 1.8 miles per day because Memorial Day falls on the 27th this year. So, and as I said in my Instagram video this morning, it's 50 miles, but most of the rest of the world use the metric system, not the empirical one anymore. But I live in America, so this is my reality now. But yeah, so for anyone who's like, what the fuck is 50 miles? 50 miles is 80.4 kilometers. So I'm doing it mostly with interval running. So there'll probably be like a few walks, like a few active rest day walks in there. But one thing I've been like upping my training since I got back from Oz. So, doing some progressive overload and throwing in, anywhere between sort of like a 15 to a 30-minute interval run at the end of like my boxing and my weightlifting workouts. And so that's what I'm sort of doing, and it's helping motivate me, helping, keep me on track and all that kind of stuff. But it's basically just to bring awareness to, the Overwatch Collective as an organization, the fact that they do all of the work that they do purely through donations. And they are, completely open and upfront about where the money goes. They constantly, generally every couple of weeks, there's an update of we've helped this many people with like therapy or coaching sessions. It's this many sessions, it's this much money, and literally down to like the dollars and cents. So participating in this challenge is sort of just about bringing awareness to them and encouraging, people to donate if they find themselves in a, financial position to be able to, and it doesn't have to be a lot, if you are, like a first responder and, you can talk to your mates at work and be like, hey, if we all throw $5-10 in, that's $50 or whatever. If there's a business that you know of who would love to make a donation to, a worthy cause, which is mental health assistance for, first responders and military veterans. I mean, not many better courses out there right now. So I will be generally keeping myself accountable by like posting photos, aiming for every day. But, let's be honest, if I don't really feel like I'm looking extremely hot one morning, I'm not going to take a photo. Not that I think I look hot in the mornings anyway, but you know what I mean. If it's been a rough night or a rough morning, that might not be a photo. But regardless, if I do post a photo, I will log how many miles / kilometers I've done that day or that morning, as well as a link to the donation page. So really, really cause, and I think it's important, kind of maybe coming full circle back to the start of the podcast. I think it's really important that us in the first responder community, whether it's your, former, current spouse, partner, kid, whatever, that we rally around each other right now. I think it's important for everyone in the first responder community to rally around, especially our law enforcement friends, brothers, sisters, whatever you want to call them. And it's not to say that they are more important than anyone else, but they are the ones at the moment who are, seemingly under siege. They are the ones getting attacked in, ambush style, for better or fucking worse of like a term, like execution style, and it was strangely odd, like if you are a regular listener or you have listened to any of the episodes, the episode sort of prior to this was with Matt Pitcher, who former police officer from the Charlotte Mecklenburg PD in North Carolina. And so obviously, him and I had a big chat, and we've been in contact, and the most recent loss of the 4 officers were in that area, and if you listen to our episode, Matt talked about an ambush style attack of 2 of his friends when he was still working for that police department. And, it's been, what did he say it was? I think it was 2014. I might be wrong, and I apologize if I am, but I think he said their anniversary was April the 1st, and that they'd all just caught up, and it had been 10 years. So I believe it was 2014. But yeah, that's not to say there haven't been any other losses in that time, but it was just, strange to have had all this interaction with someone and had this big long conversation about someone who had worked there, and then to, wake up and turn on the news and look on social media and see, another awful and tragic and significant loss, of officers from the same area. So if we don't support each other, no one else will. And it can be the fun little rivalries between coppers and fireys, and all of the things, and they're good fun. But we want to make sure that the same people who go to work every day, and when the shit hits the fan, they are running in the opposite direction of everyone else. They're your people. And they're the people who right now we want to be making sure that they're doing okay. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at this week. So with any hope, I will get this out tonight. I want to say thank you for listening. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. If you have any ASMR suggestions, send them my way. But yeah, thanks for listening. It's I don't want to jump on here and talk about, you know, the saddest, most fucked up shit that I can think of. But I think it's when there's something like this happening in the first responder community and especially in law enforcement, like I said, I'm, can be reluctant to, I don't want to compare my service to anyone over here. But it still resonates. I think once you bleed blue, you kind of always bleed blue. So I just wanted to jump on and acknowledge what's been going on, because it's a lot. It's a lot at the moment, and it's a lot when I'm not from here. I know of a different life in a different country where cops are not routinely fucking killed and executed. So it's like I said, it's heavy, and I just wanted to acknowledge it and show my respect to the ones that have been lost and their colleagues and the people who have been injured, because again, that is, another significant number. Almost 140 other officers have been injured. And again, like we're saying, it's not most of, I think the numbers are just gunshot wounds. So that doesn't include, a knife attack or fucking any other weapon of choice that certain pricks try to use on us. So yeah. Like I said, I'll post the link to the National Fraternal Order of Police in the show notes if you want to jump on and educate yourself in that respect. And I can post the website link to, I think it was Blue Help or First Help or something like that. I think Blue Help for the law enforcement, and I think there's First Help that sort of tally the suicide losses for first responders from all the different domains too. So yeah, ending on a high note apparently. It's what I do. All right. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you guys have a good weekend. And if you would like to donate to the Overwatch Collective, I strongly encourage you to. Every little bit helps. And I also encourage you to look at, what you do when you're struggling, and to, see if there are any other options out there for you. All right. Yeah. This has been another episode of I Will Hold Space for Your Darkness. I've been your host, Erin Jane. And as always, let me listen in a way you've never been heard. Cheers.